Hello, Grace and Rome students. Good morning. Hope you guys had an excellent Easter weekend and enjoyed the extra time with your family and the extra day off and everything. This week, I want to be getting you ready for your Chapter 15 quiz. That's going to be at the end of the week. You can do that anytime on Friday. So all this week is your time to do your practice, to do your vocab, to do your study. You kind of know what an online test looks like now because you took one last time. The scores are actually pretty good on that. Those are posted now. You can see them. And you're also, it told me that you're able to go back and look at those and see which questions you missed. Let me know if you're able to successfully do that because I can't see exactly your view, but you should be able to look back. So the scores are pretty good in the last quiz, so I'm hoping the next one will be successful for you guys as well. Since we're working on Chapter 15, I wanted to go over last week's homework. We did this on Thursday, but I didn't post anything on Friday since it was Good Friday. So you want to make sure you've done exercise B on page 85 before you take a look at this with me. If not, just pause it and you can do those sentences, but you should have done this on Thursday. So with each sentence, I'm going to go through and describe the grammar to you and translation and things like that. And then, of course, if you don't understand something here, I want you to pop in and see me in my office hours, so you can ask me specific questions about this. But by Friday, you want to know your Chapter 15 vocab and also how to decline third declension neuter words and how to differentiate them from third declension masculine and feminine words also. Okay, so let's take a look at the first sentence here. And again, it's okay if you didn't get these perfectly right. That's what I'm here for, is to help you understand these. The first one was Caesar erat imperator magnus in Gallia. So for this one, Caesar was a great general in Gaul, was the first one. Imperator can also be translated as commander. So Caesar was a great commander in Gaul. But the main thing here is that Caesar's the subject. You have a linking verb right here. And then this word is nominative because it's the predicate nominative. Anytime you have a noun following a linking verb, that's a predicate nominative noun. Okay. And then here we have the ablative place where in Gallia shows location, so that's why the word Gallia is ablative. Okay, so check over that one, see if you did it okay. Number 2, Germani magda cum audacia nostra castra oppugnabut. So there's a few things here. The Germans, make sure you get your tense here, will attack our camp with great boldness. Okay, so let me put up my PowerPoint's acting a bit wonky today, but there's the answer there. The Germans will attack our camp with great boldness. A few things here. This word Germani is literally an adjective, but it's being used as a substantive, or the Germans, in other words, meaning the German people. Now, we learned a new construction in this chapter that is in this sentence, so I want you to look closely at it. Magna cum audacia, with great boldness or with great daring. That's called the ablative of manner construction because it describes how the Germans will attack the camp. Anytime a prepositional phrase answers questions of how, that's an ablative of manner. So with great boldness. A little detail about the ablative of manner I want to remind you of. This was in your notes, but when you have an adjective, which you do here, with great boldness, the cum is optional. So you could see magna cum audacia, or you could see just magna audacia for this ablative manner. If there's no adjective, though, the cum is mandatory. Okay. And finally, also remember the word castra, which we learned in a previous chapter. Castra is one of those words that's only plural, only has neuter plural endings, orm, east, east, second declension neuter, but it is translated as camp in the singular, so it's a little bit tricky. Okay, so a lot going on there. Number 2, for any of these sentences, if I go a little bit too fast or something, pause it, and then you can kind of catch up to what I'm saying and rewind if you need to as I explain these. The third one, milites cum diligentia in oppido arma parabant. So this one, we have the soldiers will prepare weapons or arms in the town with diligence or with care. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Let me put it up here. So that's pretty much it. The verb is imperfect. Milites is the subject. This word is third declension masculine, so that's why the ascending. What construction is this here? Cum diligentia. I don't know if it's weird if I pause to let you answer and think about it, but I'm going to take a sip of tea and then I'll tell you. Cum diligentia is the ablative of manner that we just discussed because they're preparing weapons how? With care. Now here the cum must be there because there's no adjective. It's just with care. There's no adjective modifying them. Okay. And then arma, of course, is neuter plural, second declension, so that's your accusative, that's your direct object. Okay, so I think we explained that one. Look it over, see which things you got right there and wrong. And number 4 is matrum carmina filias delectaverent. Now, this is a short sentence, but there's a few important things here. The first one is You see the word mother right up front, so you might be, in English, we think the first word is the subject, but what case is this here? Matrum. Well, that's genitive plural, right? Ace, ibis, ace, ibis. So that's actually genitive plural, so it has to be possessive. So the mother's songs will have pleased the daughters, is basically how this translates. The mother's songs will have pleased the daughters. Notice how I made it possessive. That's what this apostrophe does. This is genitive plural. And then why am I saying will have pleased? Delectaveret. Hopefully you should recognize that's a future perfect tense, which we have learned before. But go back and review your tenses a little bit if that's something that got past you. Philios is the direct object. Now our new word here, the word from this chapter is carmina. That's Carmen, Carmenis. And this would be the nominative plural because it's the subject. It is a neuter third declension word. It is from our new vocabulary. What else can carmina mean? It can mean songs or poems. I chose songs here, but poems would have been correct as well. Those are the same word. All right, so we got 4 pretty well. Number 5, nautai graiki non navigabant magna claritate. So the Greek sailors were not sailing with great speed, okay, or with great quickness. So number 5, you see the translation here. Nautai graiki, hopefully you recognize these go together. I know they don't have the same ending, but they go together because nautai is a pain word, which makes it masculine. So that's why we need a masculine ending here. We have the abode of a manner. They were not sailing with great speed. That describes how they were not sailing. Notice how there's no cum. The cum is optional here because there's a preposition magna modifying claritate. By the way, how did I know magno is modifying claritate? Because those words don't have the same exact ending. Well, the reason we know that is because they're both feminine ablative singular endings. Why are they different endings? Because magna is first declension, claritate is third declension. We learned in last chapter. Okay, but this word is feminine. So that's where the gender of the vocab is so incredibly crucial. I hope you guys are studying your vocab, using those Quizlets, and getting the vocab down in a big way. Okay, and then the verb is imperfect, navigabant. That's how we translate it like that. Okay, number 6, none flumen erat longum et longum et pulchrum. This is a question, and what does that none mean? Did you think about that when you first saw the sentence? Well, it's a question that expects a yes answer as you're speaking to someone. So how did I phrase this so it expects a yes answer? Well, I said, wasn't the river wide, long, and beautiful is how I put this. You could have put it a different way, but it has to sound like you expect a yes answer. So you could have said, the river was wide, long, and beautiful, wasn't it? You can also say that, but it needs to sound like a yes answer. By the way, flumen is one of our new words. Flumen, fluminus, meaning river. It's neuter, by the way. That's why all the adjectives have neuter endings, because they're modifying it. Latum, longum, pulchrum, all 3 of those being neuter. Okay. So that was a good question there. Number 7, Luci Iuli Caesaris filiae nomen erat Iulia. This was a little bit tricky because a lot of words up here. So why are there all these are all proper names? Well, this is one guy, that's why. Lucius Julius Caesar. All 3 of his names are declined. That's how it would work, right? A person has 3 names. What is the case of each of these names? Luci, Iuli, Caesaris, think about it. These are all genitive, so they should be possessive. Now, filii is not the subject either. How do we know? Because it's not nominative, okay? The verb is singular, so we need a singular subject. The only word here that could be the subject is nomen. That is nominative singular, okay? So, this is genitive, but this is also genitive, filii. So, the name of Lucius Julius Caesar's daughter will be Julia. Is how we translate this sentence. So filii is genitive, it's possessing the name, but then Luci Iuli Caesaris is also genitive, possessing filii. So it's kind of like 2 genitives in a row here, which is interesting. By the way, what is Julia doing? Julia right here. Well, that's a nominative. It's a predicate nominative following a linking verb. We see erit here, which is the future tense of assume. So there's a lot going on there. Number 7. Number 8, Populus Romanus Imperium Consulibus Grate Dedit. Okay, fairly straightforward. Let me take you through it. The Roman people gave power to the consuls. Grate. Did you think of what form that is? Grate. Well, it looks like an adjective, but it ends in an E, which makes it an adverb. So they gave power to the consuls gratefully. That's how an adverb would sound, right? The subject is populus Romanus, that's nominative. Imperium is the object, that makes perfect sense. What tense is the verb here? Dedit, dodari dedi, that's the third pencil part. So that's perfect tense, perfect active. And then finally, consulibus. If you think about your endings from last chapter, ace, ibis, ace, ibis, that can either be dative or ablative. The dative is what makes perfect sense here, though, because gave. Anytime you have giving as the verb, an indirect object makes perfect sense. So the people gave power to the consuls gratefully. Number 9 is a short one, corpora Romanorum magna non erant. So here we have one of our new words, corpora. This is the plural. It's corpus corporis. So this is nominative plural. So the bodies of the Romans, this is genitive, were not big or large. Okay, magna is what that means there. So the bodies is the subject. The Romans is a substantive that's showing possession over the bodies. The Romans' bodies were not large. Okay. These sentences don't necessarily always have a lesson behind them, but in general, you might know that people have gotten taller and bigger over time just for various reasons, probably, nutrition and medical care and things like that. But on average, a person nowadays would be a good bit taller than a person during Roman times. On average, I'm sure there was very tall people there, just like there are nowadays, but the average height, we can tell that from like skeletons and grave sites and things like that. So that's number 9. And the final one is 10. Post bellum nomen novum consuli dabimus. So we see a prepositional phrase here, post bellum, after the war. Now you might think name is your subject, but look at this verb, dabimus. It ends in mus. That means the verb is we, it's first person plural. So since nomen is neuter, what 2 cases can it be? Nomen, nominus, nomini, nomen. It's a neuter word. It means that the nominative accusative have to have the same form. So since it can't be nominative because we are the subject, it must be accusative. It must be the direct object. So you got to know your grammar there to make sense of the translation. So after the war, we shall give a new name to the consul. Consuli is dative, so it must be the indirect object. That's the only thing there that makes sense. So after the war, we will give a new name to the consul. Okay. So there were a couple tough ones there, a couple easy ones, some in the middle, right? The key is to give these your best shot and try to do them yourself. That's how you get better at translating Latin and translating any language. And then you come and watch my videos and see kind of, okay, I did this right, I did this wrong, here's what I need to improve. And then take it a step further by seeing me in my office hours if you have any questions that still weren't answered by my video, okay? So you should be able to keep up with all this if you just kind of follow along carefully, do this little bit each day. Remember, at the end of this week, we will have our test on this chapter, our quiz. So I'd love for you guys to do excellent with that. I'd love for those grades to be very high and you feel very confident with that quiz. So make sure to be keeping up with your studying, with your homework, and popping in to see me if you have any questions at all during my office hours, okay? So for the rest of this week, I'll give you guys some extra help and some practice assignments and things like that as we get ready for a quiz on Friday, okay? Hope you guys are doing well and having a great Monday, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.